Hello everybody, Vigo Shadow here, and today is a very important day because I'll be going over the beginner's guide. And I know a lot of you have actually waited for this video to come, so here it is. Of course, I'm going to be releasing this type of content in parts because it is very expansive. I have to run through pretty much the whole game from beginning to end. So there's going to be a lot of working parts to it, and it's going to be quite a process, but I'll definitely get in the part 1 to the early game. So I'm going to start right off the bat, fresh start. For those who are new to Eminence, this is where you begin. And for those of you that are have started playing the game, but you're also let's say your characters are below rank 5, so that means you haven't unlocked all the skills yet. You might want to consider re-rolling depending on what kind of characters you have. Now, depending on your teams and your compositions and what SS characters you already have unlocked, then you kind of have to go from there. But essentially, it'll go like this. So here we have myself on the home screen, and I have at the moment enough gems for 2 multis. This is actually a really good spot to start out on. Worst case scenario, you only have enough for 1 multi on the rerolls. In this case, I actually had 3 due to 2 events going on at the same time. That's actually a really good spot to start. So you're going to always want to make sure you check the gift box just in case there's more gems in there. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Like I said, worst case scenario, 1 multi, best case 3. If you have 2 events going on at the same time, giving you enough for 3 multis, pretty good. But if there happens to be another Shadow Fest, because you're going to get first member Alpha's banner, and that's going to be available for 72 hours for beginning new players, like fresh accounts. So you're going to want to choose that pretty much all the time, or when you're doing your re-rolls, you're going to want to choose that specific one. Like I said, if there happens to be another Shadow Festival banner up, then you're going to want to compare and contrast. You're going to want to take a look at some of my videos, because I do upgrade or upload the Shadow Festival banners pretty quickly, and other units pretty quickly. It just depends. I try to put more importance on event/Shadow Festival characters when they pop up. But yeah, compare and contrast it, but you're going to see that most of the time with the speed first member Alpha brings is actually really good and hard to pass up on. So, I mean, yeah. So if you don't get SF Alpha, or if you don't have it and all your characters are below rank 5 and you don't have a lot of good units, or maybe like a couple SSs, you might want to re-roll. So what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to go down to the menu and the bottom right, and then you're going to want to click Return to Title Screen. From the title screen, you will go into the top left corner and then delete your account. Hit OK, hit the check mark, and then hit OK again, and bam, your account is deleted. It will have the complete with another OK that you have to hit, so that's like 3 OKs that you have to hit in a row, with the last one being finalized. This will restart the re-rolling process. Then you'll just hit skip tutorial, go past all the login bonuses and the grueling loading times for some people, and then go check the mailbox again, claim, then summon. Rinse and repeat until you get first member Shadow Festival Alpha. Once you get her, congratulations. However, her banner is not over yet. You must, and I repeat, you must summon for the total of 3 multis on her banner. This is to get first member Alpha's magic gear. Without it, you won't be seeing it for a very long time. So it's going to be a very sad time if you're not able to do that. Yeah, when you get those gems, summon off her banner immediately and exchange it for the weapon as soon as you can, because that banner will be gone in like 2 days or 72 hours. So when you hit skip tutorial, you don't really miss much. Just some really basic info. So it's just best to skip this, but if you're curious, in the beginning, the tutorial shows you where the allies are left and where the enemies are right. Then it gives you a tip to always have one tank character in battle, showcasing one of the worst tanks in the game, which I find pretty funny. Then it talks about supports, which they provide Beta, a blue healer, that actually isn't too bad early game. Then it talks about 3 combos, like hitting combos and how to activate that. You defeat Grease as a boss, which isn't hard at all. Basically, use hidden techniques and combos to kill the bosses, no brainer. Um, but yeah, the last part of the tutorial picks up off where people usually end up when they hit the skip button. When you go into the Seven Shadows Chronicle, this is where you get all your gear, most of your time. It'll have a tip there. So yeah, most of your time, effort, and energy will go into Chronicles, since that is the source of how you get your characters to become stronger. Then there's a tip for main quest, which basically says that you get more Tuna Kings, which means 10 stamina daily extra for every chapter complete. So, I mean, here's an example. If you're on main quest chapter 5 and you fully finish through main quest chapter 4, which you wouldn't be on chapter 5 if you didn't complete chapter 4, then you have 4 Tuna Kings daily, meaning you can get 40 extra stamina daily. Alright, so for the first part of the official guide, after you hit skip tutorial and all that, you're going to want to take a look at the Rose missions and try to get SS Rose as quickly as possible. To save you some time down the line, you're going to want to switch your home screen character to Rose Oriana. And you're going to want to get her to Bond 3. This will be in a later quest in the 4th sheet. Then basically, you're going to complete these Rose missions while doing Chronicles and the main quest. Next, I'll show you what your party should look like, and we will be using each one of these tabs to put a different party formation on them. Alright, so before I get into the forming of the teams, I am going to put a little bit of a disclaimer here. As you can see, I have the Magic SS Plus gear page for certain characters. Now, the reason why I include this is that obviously there are some characters that I'm going to be rating that I say are bad or low tier. And this is true for the early game, but with Magic SS Plus gear, you're going to find that sometimes you can have a character that operates very terribly, but once you grind out for that Magic SS Plus gear, they go from being bad to being very OP. So I can give a couple examples here. So right off the bat, let's just start off with the bad one. So New, a Master of Disguise is not really that good, but when you consider grinding for her and then getting her gear, which allows you to raise the speed of all allies, and then also cause weakness. So weakness is a really big status element or a status effect towards the enemies. So basically you're going to be causing a lot of damage towards the enemies, and also you're raising speed. So New goes from being a C tier, a bad tier, or I'd say okay tier, borderline bad tier, to immediately an excellent unit, all the way SS tier, not God tier by no means, but very close, or getting close with certain things. Maybe you can argue around great tier or just S tier, because I have my own tier list too. So I'll get into tier lists another time when I actually do collect all the units info. That's where you can really check out and compare stuff once I release that type of video. But for the meantime, back to Magic Gear, the grind for it is also going to be, you have to do a lot. First, you have to bring the character to SS++, which is annoying for one, and it takes a long time. So if you're getting it through the exchange, especially Bushin Fest mainly Bushin Fest, Sanctuary, all that stuff, it's going to take quite a bit of time to even get there. Then on top of that, you're going to have to grind an additional 100 shards, and then you have to get this item called Potential Drop. Now, Potential Drop is not dropped like candy, so you're not going to have a lot of it. So it's very hard to, you got to make sure you put it on the right type of characters, because some Magic Gear can be bad. For example, I have the Rose Hidden Yearning magic gear that does like put up a shield, and there's also some resistances to certain things, which is good, which makes Rose like that unit itself is a very bad unit. Like I'm talking terrible, F tier to avoid. But then with that magic gear, it brings her up to like okay or like good in like on the tier list. So like I said, this magic gear can change. It can literally make or break characters or do nothing at all. So, um, yeah, characters are either made or broken with magic gear sometimes. So I just wanted to put that up there. But um, for the forming the teams, still it's still going to be accurate. That's all I gotta say. But in the future, there might be a magic gear for a certain character that doesn't have magic gear already, and that will completely change them. So just keep that in mind. Tab 1, I put a mixed team. This is going to be your best units, like when we reach those spots where like there's no specific element that's like going to be weak or strong against. So it's like kind of like a mixed team. And then so in that mixed team, you're going to want to put like obviously Shadow Festival Alpha if you got that one, or like pretty much any SS you pick up besides Mundane Man and a few other special exceptions that make the team way worse than they should be. Then you're going to want to choose a healer and a one tank, you know, for like a standard comp. I chose Green Tank Delta because you'll be leveling her in later levels and you're going to need it for probably one of the hardest chapters or when the difficulty kind of ramps up. So Delta's not too bad, but yeah, either way, when elements become more prominent, you're going to probably want her leveled. Unless you have NPC Technique Sid SS, use him instead and replace Delta right away. That's going to be good. That's going to be good if you have NPC Technique Sid. You know, I wouldn't say re-roll, just keep re-rolling and re-rolling and re-rolling for him. I mean, it will help you out. There is actually a list that I found that are like pretty good SSs to start out with, so I'll be pulling up that list right here. I pulled that from a website that I'll have in the link below. That's also like another different like little guide you can follow on the website as well. But either way, you're gonna have your standard comp: one healer, one tank, three attackers. And then as for the healer for right away, you're gonna probably want Epsilon or Beta. You'll most likely be using both around since they have the best start out heals. I mean, unless you get like another SS like Training Hard, Gamma, or better yet, Sherry. So for yellow teams, the start out layout would be like, you know, obviously yellow healer, Sherry, Alexia, Claire, Sid, and Zeta. I didn't pull Zeta, oddly enough, which is kind of funny. But we do have first member Alpha, so that's going to be a staple for the yellow teams. Immediately avoid using Claire and Sid for yellow attackers. Just get rid of them. They are not that good. If you can avoid it, even if you don't have SF Alpha, I would try to just avoid it and not put anything, or like put like a different unit that you pulled for like an SS on there instead, as long as it's not weak to that certain element, you know. But you won't have to worry about yellow elements for at least a little bit. Anyway, Alexia is good and Zeta is good as well. You can keep them as attackers and ride them out for a while. They're actually pretty good in the mid game and even like sometimes in the late game as well. Like especially Zeta. Eventually, you're going to want to think about replacing Yellow Healer Sherry for sure. The reason for that is that since she only focuses heal on one member at a time, which is awful, by the way. So she has a standard heal, 100%, that goes to one character, and there's no like target area, kind of like how Epsilon and Beta has. Because at least Beta and Epsilon, if the unit you're healing is close to another one, they'll also receive the heal. But with this specific Sherry, she's only targeting one person, healing that person, and even her ultimate heals one person. So that is absolute garbage. So you're going to want to try to avoid that, or you're going to want to try to get either Best-Selling Author Beta or Training Hard Gamma. They're suitable for replacement, with Training Hard Gamma being the better of the two, obviously, for your PvE. For red teams, I just went ahead and got rid of the red tank start out alpha. You'll want to replace her ASAP because she is one of the worst tanks. I mean, an easy-ish swap out, and what I mean by easy-ish is that there is shards in the exchange for the Bushin Festival Royale, and also an event you can also grind out too, an event quest that you can probably try to grind out more shards for. Um, it's not easy, it's just very, very grindy. But either way, you'll have to keep exchanging and grinding till you get Rose driven to excellent red tank. You'll also want to see if you could swap out at least Blessed Gamma red attacker, since she targets the lowest HP unit with her ultimate, which is waste, and it's annoying as well. As well as she also lowers the healing boost of enemy, which is only helpful in rare situational circumstances. Then the rest of the characters, I Hunted at Delta, Perform Wisdom, Epsilon, and Elegance Now Epsilon, are actually pretty good for now, until you get the SS characters. Preferably swapping out Elegance Now, unless you're grinding for the Magic SS++ gear, which makes her good if you're doing Status Affliction team. Aurora. For blue teams, obviously I pulled Beatrix, so I put her on there, but your default blue team would be Bright World Beta, Experiments in Proof, Ida, Eminence and Shadow Sid, New Master of Disguise, and Iris Incognito Date. This team composition is actually pretty legit, and the only real focus of replacement would be Bright World Beta in favor of New Elegantly Discreetly. That's the only other blue healer you can get. Incognito Date Iris for Alpha, first of the 7, blue tank, which can be exchanged in the Bushin Fest. Try not to focus on changing this team as much, because in favor of changing other teams that really need it. Green teams. Unless, of course, blue SSs just fall into your lap, then, there you have it. Whatever the RNG pretty much brings you is what you're going to get. For green teams, aka the team that is by far the least set up and rough and tough in the early game, is Waiting for Boss Delta, Garden Genesis Alpha, and the Triple Threat: Hidden Yearning Rose Oriana, Lovely Stories Beta, and Developing Products Gamma. This is a team composition that consists of no green start-out support, which is just terrible. A semi-decent tank only if you can actually dodge the attacks, and if you get hit, it hurts a lot, so that really does suck. And 3 terrible attackers that can be easily replaced by pretty much any other green unit. Maybe Mundane Man is the exception there, but just because he's on his own tier of being bad. Gamma focuses on lowering the attacks of enemies, but does no damage for a hidden technique. Now, I know some of you are going to say, but she raises her attack 60%. Which is actually really good, because her skill 1 and skill 2 are really decent. So if she's hitting with the skill 1 and skill 2, it's almost like you're hitting with a hidden technique. But that's only for 10 seconds. So you best hope that the skill 1 and 2 proc in the 10 seconds, which it should. But I don't know. She is on the better side of the triple factors. Some will say that she's really, really good, but I could argue that she is a little bit lower. I'd say she's mid-tier at best. For me, at least my opinion. I know some people can differ, but that's what I think. Rose has a lot of good attack buffs, but not good attack skills and hidden technique. Besides the small bleed factor on her hidden technique, she does have Magic Gear SS plus though, and Lovely Stories has a decent buff with okay damage compared to the rest. However, she falls short with one skill favoring the highest attacker, which is nice, kind of, but essentially if we're talking early game, you're going to want to choose Lovely Stories Beta and Developing Products Gamma, since they have decent, especially Gamma on the skill 1 and skill 2. So Gamma's probably the better one out of the 3, minus her hidden technique. Her hidden technique is really good with a 60%, but it's bad because there's no damage. You want that damage on the hidden technique as well. Like I said, it kind of makes up for it, and we can argue about it, but besides the point. Late game, you might want to choose Rose, depending, but at that point, you might as well just replace Rose, so there's no point grinding for that Magic Gear SS++. So I'd just rather replace her. I made the mistake of choosing her in my playthrough instead of beta, but that's alright too. I was able to get through it anyway. Essentially, you're going to want to find yourself grinding the hell out of Sherry Barnett Young Researcher for that god tier Magic Gear SS++. That is so staple. You're going to want to grind for Sherry Barnett. young researcher. That you need a green healer, of course. Then, of course, you're going to want a better tank. I talked about NPC technique, Sid, potentially. You can grind for him in hard Chronicles like 1-4. And then complete overhaul, like an overhaul of green attackers. Any green attacker can be replaced. Besides Garden Genesis Alpha, which she's actually really, really good and compatible with mixing as well. This team is going to be by far the most work, so, I mean, that's a mouthful. There's a lot that goes into green teams, but either way. Moving on, once you form your parties, it should look something like this, or unless you have other SSs to replace it and throw in the mix, minus Mundane Man again, or something like that. In Chronicles Chapter 1, it's pretty much a breeze. You will need to, however, get used to watching how much damage your tank is taking. If it's looking a bit dicey, then go to characters and then rank them up. And level them up too. Get used to this type of pattern, especially since all the skills are not unlocked at this point. And after you go through Chronicles Chapter 1, leveling up and 3-starring these stages, then we're going to read and watch Episode 1 of the main quest, which by that point, you should get SS Rose for a yellow tank. This will also unlock her second sheet, so... main quest of Chapter 2, watch the Episode 1, and then after you get through Chronicles 1, you should have SS Rose. And then you're going to want to look into doing your daily missions. Even if you haven't unlocked them all, this is going to be a good source of XP to level up your account, thus leveling your characters. Keep in mind that A-rank characters can be leveled to the amount of your account, aka if your player level is level 100, then you can level an A-rank character to level 100. So it means that S-rank can go to level 101, SS 102, SS plus level 103, SS plus 104. You get the pattern. Basically, characters can get leveled 4 levels past your player level if it's an SS plus character. Keep doing this, keep doing the dailies every day. Get used to this grind. It's fairly quick when you get the hang of it. The goal is try to rank up SS yellow rank, or SS yellow tank Rose to rank 3. But if you can, at this point you can only get her to high rank 2. So next you'll be going through Chronicles Chapter 2 to make main quest 2 be easier. I use the same party I did in Chronicles Chapter 1 with going through and leveling the units, ranking them up as I go when needed. No need to worry about the elements at this point, so it should be a breeze. So after Chronicles Chapter 2, so when you beat Chapter 2 Chronicles fully, you're going to unlock Shadow Base and Hard Mode Chronicles. First, it's going to be kind of your first small milestone, which in this case, you can at least grind out hard 1-1 through 1-4. And tip, if you're doing dailies for hard Chronicles, just keep grinding the shards for hard 1-4 for NPC technique Sid if you don't already have them. After hard mode, you're going to want to check out the Shadow Base and at least enter it so you can get some members in the, and put them in the facilities after some time has passed. The most important places to upgrade is first the hub, upgrade the facilities. Second would be the dorms, to have more people come in. Third, the storehouse to feed the people. Otherwise, you won't be bringing people in. 4, 5, and 6, all the same category, is the factory, lumberyard, and the stone yard. Without them being upgraded, it will take forever to upgrade facilities, so make sure to pour members into these facilities and keep them upgraded. You can just keep going on and only level these specific things. However, the warehouse will make gear grinding just a tad bit easier. I just avoid upgrading the lab because candies are pretty easy to come by, especially with the events. Mine is still at level 1 on my main count. I have not touched the lab, so I avoided the lab completely. So after messing around in hard mode and Shadow Base, we can come back to the main quest, Chapter 2. This one shouldn't be as bad after getting through Chronicles first, so during main quest 2, you'll be able to join a guild. I'd say just go ahead and join one so you could reap some rewards, make sure the guild is open with no pre-approval or whatever, just something you could join just to fill the gap for now. During the main quest, there are some easy lessons that just pretty much involve being strategic with your combos that are going to be actually useful information. since there's going to be some bosses that cannot be damaged with a certain buff. So if you're seeing a lot of zeros and you're going to hit a 5 combo or like a 3 combo and it's just doing zeros, then that's going to suck. But um, so yeah, you're gonna want to do like 3 combo, like at least with for now until you unlock 5 combos. You're gonna want to use the tank for last. Sometimes you're gonna need that, especially I use that a lot when when the main boss is about to use a move, like and you see that blue bar fill up pretty much all the way, that and you know they're about to be ready to attack. I would just go ahead and use that 3 combo and put my tank last so I can block a good percentage of that move and keep my members alive. And I've been using that. You pretty much have to use that because if you don't, your team's going to get slaughtered. Somebody's going to die. You might make it through still, but you're going to want to 3-star that. So just try to keep your members alive. I use the 3 combos, especially the healer last, because I mean you get very poor heals from these like beginning start out healers. So you know I definitely heal the team a lot by using that 25% health back, because the base heals are just simply not enough to keep my party alive, and running 2 healers can sometimes backfire. I mean, you'll be able to heal your units, but you'll do less damage, and you know, so on. Mainly just try to be mindful and try not to let any party members die so you can get more gems by 3-starring the stages. If someone does die, you can always hit pause button in the top right corner and then hit retry or retire the stage without wasting any stamina. And this goes for everything. Events, you know, maybe PvP as well too, I forget. I did almost have Beatrix die on the boss in the last part of Main Quest 2, so I mean that's something that can sneak up on you as well. But when you beat Main Quest Chapter 2, you're going to unlock the guild option, of course, I already mentioned that, and Armageddon, so you can participate in Armageddon fairly early. I mean, that's not going to be, I guess, a too big of a concern, I guess, because, I mean, either way, you're going to still get rewards from Armageddon, even if you place at the bottom rank, it's still something. Alright, to explain Armageddon a little bit more in depth, first you're going to have to wait for it to start, so there is always a starting time for guilds, you can check that easily. And then once it does start, you can go into the boss hunt, and then from there, you can obviously do your attack, and then once you finish defeating one of the 4 bosses, and one of those bosses being a realm boss, which is very, very hard to take down, you will then be put on a cooldown. So the cooldown lasts, or starts at like, the cooldown starts immediately when you go into the fight. Then, after 30 minutes, Armageddon will open up the PvP section, the guild PvP. So once you get in the guild PvP, you can do your battle. And if you win these battles, if you have your guildmates win these battles, then you can receive the rewards from that. And it'll be defense and attack. And they go up to very high percentages, making Armageddon a little bit easier. Rewards are rewards. Just join. Why not? Better than having nothing. PvP unlocks also the Bushin Festival and then the chat feature, whatever. Go ahead and go into PvP and do as many matches as you can, aka 5 daily to grind to get to a better rank as high as you can climb, so you can earn more Bushin coins. Set up your teams accordingly. I do have a Bushin Fest tier list that I released as well, so you can gauge your characters on that, like in the early, mid, and late game. But for now, in the early game, just use your highest ranked characters with frequent tweaking later on. From the Bushin exchange, you can grind for 2 critical units. Either first of the 7 blue alpha blue tank unit or red healer lambda for red teams. Personally, I'd go for lambda first, then alpha. Eventually, you're going to want you're going to get to Battle Royale exchange, where you get the NPC technique Sid, green tank, and driven to excellent Rose, red tank. Personally, I'd go for Rose first due to alpha red tank being absolutely dreadful, and the green tank delta being a little bit more bearable with that evasion and the provoke. Alright, so, and then after that, you can kind of go to Main Quest Chapter 3 and then Chronicles Chapter 3. But, like, do Main Quest Chapter 3 first, probably. Now, this is where elements start to matter a lot. You can get away with SF Alpha, though, being on blue, with replacing New and keeping Sid and Ida. But if that's not working, go ahead and go full blue while going through Main Quest Chapter 3. And beating it, after fully beating Main Quest Chapter 3, you'll unlock the following features. Magic Gear Craft and Enhance, Event Quests, and make your own guild. Go ahead and immediately craft that SS magic gear for SF Alpha, and any other magic gear to put down on others, even if it's low tier like magic gear, you can still throw something on to get more, you can still throw something on your characters to get more out of them. And then you can also get more magic gear drops by completing dailies. So just keep doing your dailies, no matter what it is. I mean, if you're coming back to the game the next day, just do your dailies. Dailies matter so much. From event, do your dailies, and then from event and other rewards as well. Um, After beating main quest chapter 3, you should be able to clear Rose mission's second sheet by now, and then move on to the third sheet. If you have to wait due to the login days, then don't worry. Go ahead, just keep plugging away. If you got the stamina, of course. During these login days, though, while you're waiting or something like that, you could still be grinding away at dailies. I'm going to emphasize the point of grinding dailies. Like, that's just really crucial. You're going to have to get used to that. Next up is Chronicles Chapter 3. You'll have to watch for Iris's health for the blue tank. I mean, pretty much any tanks at this point, watch their health. If your tank is dying or coming close to dying, it's time to level them up more and grind gear parts as much as you can get it. If the timer is the issue for, 3-starring your missions, which is a rare occurrence, but you gotta level up your attackers at that point, and having a higher attack will make waves go by much smoother and less damage to the tank, so the tank doesn't have to take as much and take some pressure off. Now, after beating, Chronicles 3 and Main Quest Chapter 3, we can now move on to Main Quest Chapter 4. We do get another lesson for elements, basically saying that we don't use a different color tank. Duh. Anyways, Main Quest Chapter 4 is weak to red units, so you'll have to bite the bullet and level up all red units that you have. At this point, I used up what tickets I had, and there was no dice to replace any red units, so I stuck with the basics. Even if it meant leveling up Shadow Encounter Alpha, that I despise. With having a full team of red that was leveled and geared up, I had no issues clearing Main Quest Chapter 4. I did have to dip into Chronicles Chapter 4, though, to get better gear so that I could beat Main Quest Chapter 4. However, after obtaining that gear and having my full red team reach rank 4, it was much easier. There's more enemies just like this that'll specifically target your mid lane. As you can see, Sid dies here, and what you're going to want to do is run a completely different comp. As you can see, I have Beta and Epsilon, so I have 2 healer comp there, and then you're going to want to use your strike combos, get the heal in, or you're going to have use the healer's skills at appropriate times when your mid lane is looking a little bit low. So yeah, you're going to have to really be strategic with these specific stages in order to get your 3-star. After clearing Main Quest Chapter 4, you will unlock Sanctuary and Magic Gear Infusion. Magic Gear Infusion means that if you get a dupe of a Magic Gear, you can reroll the stats. That's pretty much it there. And Sanctuary is a long, grueling dungeon-type mode where you get through a bunch of battles by choosing different routes. One sword means it's an easy, one sword on a flag means that it's an easier fight, whereas 3 swords means it's going to be harder for the most part. Sanctuary has 1 element for enemies, like blue. Sanctuary should only have blue element enemies. However, for some specific fights, they change the element, so stay on your toes. I think that's mainly in the upper floors of Sanctuary as well, and not really in the bottom as much. Also, they have these things called Ancient Memories. Every time you clear a battle, or sometimes a statue will give it to you, there's a certain percentage boost, or different types of buffs for certain groupings of characters. So that's when groupings actually matter. Groupings matter for when you're pairing certain teams up, because that's becoming more prevalent with human teams, or different other teams that you kind of have to run, vampire teams, whatever grouping it is, it doesn't matter. But Sanctuary does rely on the groupings a lot, so you're going to have to really watch out for that. Obviously there's some strategy involved there. If you see, if your, let's say your tank is yellow rose, you know that they're human, and you get a higher boost off of human. Just choose human for the defense so you can have a stronger tank. It's something as simple as that. Just really look into the grouping for your tank, especially, and what your highest attacker, what their grouping is, so you can get them to strike a little bit harder, especially if they get all units. But enough of that. We're going to be basically going through, for some, The statues. Let's talk about the statues. The statues can bring forth like it could either heal the party, it can give you an ancient memory, or do nothing, or damage the party. It just depends on what you choose and how the story plays out in the dialogue choices. If something is like fishy, I choose not to interact with it. Like go into a pit, obvious trap type situation, healing pond that radiates good energy or some crap like that. Obviously go in that and like get your hands washed up in some healing pond. I don't know. Either way, you only get coins from Sanctuary when you clear floors. So you get 1,000 for the first floor, 1,200 for the second floor, another 1,200 for the third floor. I didn't get as far as the fourth or the fifth floor, but I imagine it's a small increase, really. I forget the actual values, and as painstaking as it is, you're going to want to do Sanctuary every week because it is a weekly, and it does refresh weekly. Also, if you hit reset, and try to like grind it out, like I'm just gonna do floor one again and just keep grinding floor one. You cannot. Once you hit reset, you have to get farther than you previously did because you only get coins for first clear for the week. And yeah, so there's no point. There's really no point resetting. If you hit reset button, it's a beginner's trap. So I thought I'd mention that at least. And then also, some of you might think, oh, Sanctuary is too much work, and trust me, I agree. But unfortunately, you're going to want to keep doing Sanctuary because you're going to want to grind for Sherry Barnett for the good green healer that green team needs desperately. But either way, I mean, it'd be nice if you unlock Sherry right away. It would just cause a lot of headache to stop. Alright, so the next thing you could do is you can go into the Rose missions here, and we should be gearing up our characters to defeat main quest chapter 5. So you're going to do a lot of green leveling for your green units, so you're probably going to get them all the way up to rank 5, rank 4. And then you're going to go to 5-1, and then shortly after 5-1, you're going to be running into unlocking Bushin Festival Battle Royale. That'll be unlocked, so you're going to be going into the Bushin Festival Battle Royale. And then it's essentially the same thing as Bushin Fest. You're just going to want to make sure you do a battle in here because that should be a part of your sheet. Essentially, you raise your rank, you get the higher your rank, you get more coins. That's pretty much the gist of that. So you're going to go into your defense so that you're not defeated as often. Throw in the highest you can, gear them all up, and then you're going to do your battles. You just have to do 2 wins, maximize that, probably do 5 of them, do it for your dailies and weeklies. Then you're going to go back to main quest, go all the way to 5-5, where you're going to defeat this cult leader. And then you're going to clear that in the main quest chapter 5, and then you're going to be able to clear everything on the third sheet. So after clearing the third sheet, you're going to get Rose's weapon, which is nice. So, and then you're going to be on the 4th sheet. Then we can kind of dip back into events again. So you don't have to just do the event quest to get the awards to defeat the boss. You could do main quest and 7 Shadows Chronicles as well. Eventually, you're going to want to like do all the normal things in Chronicles, and then all the hard if you can. And then the main thing is defeating the beginner boss, and then it's also defeating the guild bosses, and you're going to want to be in a guild for that because that's going to give you the most amount of points for the exchange. So yep, you're going to go into the normal, beat all that, get them 3-starred, and then you're going to watch episode 6, go through the hard, then watch episode 7, go to beginners, and then you can do the guild thing. And then the guild ranking, even if you're like even if you're not in a good guild, like even this like max rank, you're gonna get like 100 gems. And then in the hunt score as well, when you're doing that, you're gonna get a magic crystal, you're gonna get cores, you're gonna get a bunch of stuff that really do matter. And then there's another magic crystal in exchange. There's a couple other good things in this exchange shop. So just doing this and like really grinding it out can give you really good like magic gear and drops. And then usually every event has a gimmick, so there's like the cheer thing for that event. And then we're going to go back into the Chronicles here, and then it'll actually teach us about strike combos. This is actually where you get 5, like you're able to unlock the 5 strike combo, which is going to make things a lot easier. So we're on our way to clear 5 clear Chronicles chapter 5. So doing this, you're going to have to be going back and forth a lot. And with this Templar leader, I actually had to retry the battle and then finish him again because he does hit pretty hard. So after that, you can I'd say go ahead and edit your presets here. I chose I do like to spend a lot of time editing my presets, so you're gonna want to be thinking about trying to replace units as early as you can. Obviously, if you don't have the gems or nor the units, don't worry about it. Just keep your teams very similar, so you can keep you can keep the teams the exact same way that you do have them, with trying to run a full like solid color with just with your daily grind, thinking about what you want to grind for, like Sherry, maybe NPC technique Sid, certain tanks, and then you got to keep in mind with some of these units you don't even need to replace, like Sid with his magic gear, so it's not really necessary. Okay, so then you can go to normal Chronicles 6-1, so you're going to start doing normal 6. I did have to gear up, of course. That's going to be a common process. I go all the way to 6-12, and that's where you're going to hit another one of these roadblocks if you haven't already. So this Phantom, right off the bat, is actually a difficult early game boss, and it starts right away with an ultimate, which killed my team quite a few times. So, yeah, it does activate that ultimate often. Beta dies here, so I had to retire it. So always remember, like, if somebody dies, you can retire it, and you can retry it without having to use stamina. As you can see, I eventually got through it by going back, gearing up all my characters, waiting a little bit, doing dailies, grinding so I can get the levels up as well. Sometimes you need to do that. Otherwise, you can just take the L and then move on. But I did clear Chronicles Chapter 6. Now you go to Main Quest, and from Main Quest they actually have a lesson, which this lesson is just telling you about elements again. So they have a blue Sid healer, then Gamma comes in, 2 healing characters then, and it shows you, and it basically tells you that having a yellow healer for yellow teams is better than having a blue healer. Like, no duh. And then they have, in 6-2 for the main quest, you actually fight Rose, which is kind of nice, but the one thing you do have to watch out for here is the time. But once you get past that, the rest of main quest chapter 6 is pretty easy. And then from this point, you can actually go to the Rose missions, and then you can clear out her 4th sheet. So after clearing out all the stuff there, so you'll have that whole list, you should be done with it. Then you can actually get the SS guaranteed summon ticket. And then on the 5th sheet, you'll have 120 shards, which will probably take it close to SS plus for Rose, which is nice, and that will be the last part of her sheet. Then you can use that summon ticket. You can go ahead and use that, and then rest in peace for me, because I got Claire, the yellow healer, one of the newer units that is around. So eventually you're going to have to gear yourself up for Chronicles Chapter 7. So what I did here is I got new Master of Disguise all the way from A rank to SS rarity, so that she's able to get a few levels and a couple stat boosts there. So that's going to help me out. As you can see, I did gear up my whole blue team for this as well, and then I made sure to put gear on them as well, since you should be grinding and putting gear on your characters. As you can see, I did the same for Bright World Beta. She is now SS as well. And then we can finally go through Chronicles 7. So you'll do quite a bit of battles there for Chronicles 7. And then around Chronicles 7-10 is where you're going to find these enemies that can hurt pretty bad. So my tank did die, so I had to retry a couple stages, and then use the strike combos and strategize a little bit more efficiently. And then you could run double healer comp here if you really needed it. So I know the mid lane does get attacked a little bit too, so if the mid lane's dying, anytime when your mid laners are dying, it's probably maybe a better idea to run a double healer comp. But either way, before I defeated the Peacock for 7-12, I did decide to gear up and made sure everybody was adequately leveled and had the right gear. Then I cleared 7 Shadows Chronicles Chapter 7, and then I can move on to Main Quest Chapter 7. And then shortly after, like just 7-1, and then you view the 7-2 episode, Dark Knight Duel Coliseum unlocks. And basically with Dark Knight Duel is that you're going to have 15 characters that you can put in. It's almost like kind of like a Bushin Festival type thing, but the difference here is that they're one-on-one battles. So, of course, this just like Armageddon is a timed event, so it's going to be timed. Something that you're going to want to watch out for here is that with these 15 characters that you choose from, there's tournament regulations, and what these are is just attack multipliers, effective elements, and effective rolls. So certain characters will get like a higher attack multiplier, and you got to watch out for the attack multiplier because sometimes it could be normal, it could be high, it could be low, or not so much low, or the attack multiplier might go the other way, and it could be yeah, it could be low, and then certain characters are nerfed. But just make sure you pay attention to that, so you're not bringing something that's going to be bad, and then start bringing things that are going to be potentially good. So for this example, the effective role would be a red element and an attacker. So, of course, using that using a red element and it being an attacker will give you a huge advantage in the tournament. Essentially, yep, you'll enter in your 15 characters. It's a good thing that they have this auto party feature now that you can equip character-specific gear, so you can just go ahead and do that, and then I'd start tweaking your party from there, so you don't have to put in as much. There is a bunch of stuff for the rewards list. There is a bunch of medals for the exchange shop. You do see a little bit of phantasm gems in there as well, along with some burgers, and I think burgers are probably one of the best things in here, along with the SS magic gear dupes. So you can essentially use any SS piece of magic gear, even Shadow Festival magic gear, which you can't get unless it's like banner specific, which are the best thing to use it for. Those items are very, very helpful. So, and I believe one of the very few places to get that type of gear is in this Dark Knight Duel, so it is worth doing for sure. But essentially, what's going to happen here is that you'll pick, out of your 15 characters, you'll have this huge screen where it goes first battle, second battle, third, fourth, fifth. Essentially, you have to win 3 out of the 5 battles, and if you don't win 3 out of the 5, you will lose, and you'll have to redo the qualifiers all over again. And if you do lose, you have to usually pay a fee of gems to retry, otherwise wait the next day. So it's just best if you try not to lose. Obviously, that's easier said than done. But yeah, you'll do your battles. Yep, you'll get your 3 wins there. And then from the qualifiers, you're going to be moving to the group stage. Now, the group stage is exactly identical to the qualifiers. Besides, with the qualifiers here, with the group stage here, in whatever you used in qualifiers, whether you won or lost with that unit, they are no longer usable. So whatever you pick for this group stage as well, those units are also going to no longer be usable. So essentially, you want to, for both the qualifiers and the group stage, you want to use like your worst units to try to advance without getting too bold with it. But yeah, essentially at the end here, you'll reach the finals, and what the finals is it's like a knockout style for sure. So and it's called the knockout stage. So instead of getting 3 wins in like this 5 battle situation, you now have to win 3 times in a row, and you cannot lose once at all. So once you lose, you are knocked out. So it works just like a tournament would. So that is the last part of the stage there. Once you do win, you'll get that victory screen, you'll get the rewards for it, and then also you're not done. You're not done with Dark Knight Duel because during this period you're supposed to be fighting for 4 days. So, you have the first day, you go through qualifiers, group stage, finals, and then you get your victory. You do it again, and then for the final day, you do it again. And then you can obtain those SS magic gear dupes for any magic gear that is SS, which is really, really nice. So, essentially, yeah, you'll just try to do a Dark Knight Duel as much as you can and go as far as you can with it. With that being said, you can go back to the main quest and start finishing out main quest from there. As you can see, I cleared main quest chapter 7. Now, what I gotta say is that the process is tedious. Essentially, I've said pretty much the same thing over and over. You're gonna basically, it narrows it down to this. You're gonna continue to do your normal Chronicles for the gear. And you're going to also continue main quest for the Tuna King, which is also nice. But 2 things to keep in mind is that you're going to always want to continue doing your dailies. This is the fastest way to level up in Eminence. And also, you know, it dailies give you some gems as well as weeklies. So I mean, it is very slow and it's not enough for sure. You're gonna always want to do them regardless because it is the fastest way to level up. And then you're also gonna want to always do limited time events and campaigns. The reason for this is you want to grind out everything that you can for events and campaigns. The reason why is that this is the best way to get rewards. I'm talking phantasm gems, like summon tickets, other stuff as well. Some of the best items you can get are in these events that you're going to want to grind out for. So you're going to always want to do them regardless so that you can get some phantasm gems and good rewards from them. The next thing I got to say is, like, some people might say, okay, well, when do I summon? What banners do I summon for? And what I got to say to that is that utilize my channel or other outlets. I mean, you can do that as well. To get essentially, you want to get info on these new units. Generally, Shadow Festival units are the best option to go for. They come once a month during the Armageddon period, like pretty much start of Armageddon, or a little bit before, probably a little bit before Armageddon, just around that time frame. They last for about a week, and then you can just go from there. Just because it says Shadow Festival Unit 2 does not mean that this is like a god tier unit. There has been some Shadow Festival units that have been still good, but like kind of the worst end of the stick for Shadow Festival units. So you're going to always want to make sure that you check out this information before you pull for them. And then, of course, avoid banner traps and all that stuff, too. Eventually, you'll get to the part where you unlock the last mode, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip over, like, main quest chapter, like, 8 and 7, and then same thing with Chronicles, and then we're going to skip all the skip ahead to main quest chapter 9, episode 6, where this will be unlocked for you, and, essentially, you can go into this place called the World Tree, and what the World Tree is a giant test of your abilities, and what I mean by abilities is how much you've put into your units, and how much you've leveled your units, and what units you have. Because World Tree is actually extremely hard. It's probably one of the hardest things in the game to do, but apparently you can get tons of Phantasm Gems, and what I mean by tons is not that much at all. I think it's very funny that they put that. Like, tons is an overstatement for sure. But essentially, you can go into World Tree every day and claim the contents of a treasure box, which comes in the form of like a little bit of like a magic gear drop and also candies. I mean, this is good probably early game, kind of like where you're at when you first unlock it. Later on, it becomes kind of I mean, it's still useful, you know. It's still materials. To put it into perspective, the amount of candies you get is equivalent to doing like the last floor. So floor 21 is equivalent to just going into the material quest, going under the monster hunt, and then clearing out the last monster hunt for like 60. So it's like the same amount of magic candy. So you might as well just be doing the monster hunt and not try to grind that far for it. So it kind of goes like this. For World Tree, I'd say there are some benefits, but I'd also say that World Tree is mainly for fun and titles. Extra gems are always nice, but you'd need to clear 9 floors for 2,700 gems. Just 100 gems shy of a 2,800 gem multi. So if you take that into perspective, I mean, that's not a ton of Phantasm Gems, as they claim. It's just a bunch of singles that you can be spending on a banner. So I wish the rewards were way, way better for World Tree. But it is what it is. Like I said, it's mainly for fun. So we get into the last part of the video of the beginner's guide. So I pretty much covered everything that is early game and onwards, too. Because World Tree would be the last unlock you get, and then essentially the rest of the game, not much changes. So I'm not even sure if I need to release like a mid-game guide or the late-game guide, and if I do, it's going to be very minuscule, because there is way more things to worry about early game and a lot of unlocks early game compared to the mid-game and the late game. Not really much changes mid-game and late game, besides doing quests are not quests, but not much changes like late and mid game, besides like what you're doing within guilds. So obviously, if you're in a more competitive guild and you're raising your account and your characters to play more competitively, then that's more of a late game thing, for sure. You can try to aim for the highest scores in events and Armageddon. Those are the two ways to compete with guilds. Otherwise, obviously, scoring high in Bushin Festival and Dark Knight Duel is also a way to compete as well. That's a lot of late game stuff, for sure. But essentially, I think I covered it all. Hopefully this beginner's guide finds people well and you learned a lot from it. You can go ahead and check out some of my other helpful videos included in a playlist on my channel as well. Maybe the quick tips video, but there is a lot to learn in the early game for sure. Good luck on your pulls and good luck in the game. Vigo, signing off.